So, am I Ten Hag out? Well, I'd say I'm on the fence at the moment. I'm certainly getting to that stage because the performance level at the moment is not just underperforming, it's pretty much diabolical. I mean, if you look at the games that we actually have won, it's arguably more concerning than the games we've lost. I mean, if you look at the opening day of the season against Wolves, I mean, the midfield was completely wide open. If Wolves had a half decent finisher, they would have won that game. We only beat Nottingham Forest at home because we came back from 2-0 down after a pretty tragic start. We only just about avoided losing and then getting a win against Brentford because McTominay turned up out of nowhere and saved the day. Despite beating Burnley at Turf Moor, we actually had a lower XG than them, which is pretty embarrassing, and only beat Sheffield United because of a Dallas screamer towards the end of the game. And to be honest, we're actually lucky to be as far up the table as we actually are, because if you look at the underlying metrics, I mean, it basically shows that United are a mid-table team at the moment with 10 games gone in the Premier League. But before I go any further, remember to subscribe to the channel and check out my Patreon podcast, which will be linked below. But also, if you want cheap, good quality football jerseys for the new season or retro jerseys from the past 40 years, then check out jerseyfever.com. A link will be in my Instagram bio, and if you use coupon code Atlantis, you should get a discount as well. I'll leave my Instagram at the top of the description and comment section, and a link will be in my Instagram bio. We rank 11th for expected points, 12th for our total XG, and 13th for our XG against, which shows that when it comes to both creating chances, as well as stopping the opposition from creating chances, we're a mid-table side. And now before you blame Bruno Fernandes actually ranks 4th out of every player in the league for his total XG assisted. So it's not Bruno Fernandes' lack of creativity which is the reason why United aren't creating as many chances as they should. Now obviously stats don't tell you the whole picture, you do have to actually watch the game, but before the TalkSport listeners tell me that stats are completely useless, they're not, you just don't understand them. If you look at the football clubs with the best recruitment, they all use these stats, so just because you don't understand how to use them or quantify them, doesn't mean you can completely discard them. Also, this weird obsession with blaming literally every problem that's going on with United on the Glazers is becoming embarrassing, and very rarely do I agree with opposition fans who criticise United. Most of the time it's just over-exaggerated, but this whole narrative that Ten Hag shouldn't take any blame and that it's the Glazers' fault we're performing so bad is complete and utter nonsense. I mean, the Glazers aren't the ones setting up the tactical system, they aren't setting up the pressing system or the defensive shape, they aren't in charge of the possession system either. And the reason why United are struggling so much at the moment is not a personnel problem, because if you look at the squad, even with the injuries that we've had, it's more than good enough to be putting in decent level performances. I mean, look at Villa, Brighton, Newcastle, etc. I mean, you wouldn't look at their squads and say they're much better than United's. I mean, you wouldn't even say they're better than United's, particularly with Brighton and Aston Villa. I just get the feeling that people don't really know how to analyse a game tactically, because if you watch the Manchester City game, or really the majority of the 10 games we've played in the Premier League, it's obvious to see that we've got serious systemic problems. I mean, in possession, we just have an inability to play out from the back. Against City, it was so easy for them to just force us out wide and then force us long and regain possession. I mean, if United were dominating games and the pressing system was looking great and it was just individual errors and players missing chances, which was the reason why United weren't picking up points, then I could understand how people would come to Ten Hag's defence. Now obviously from a defensive point of view, having Harry Maguire and Johnny Evans as a centre-back pairing is pretty tragic, but why isn't Ten Hag moving to a 3 at the back system, or a 5 at the back system should I say, with at least 3 centre-backs? I mean, that was the main issue against City. I think if he had gone with a back 5, a lot of the spaces that were appearing between the defensive line and inside of the box would have been cut out. Instead, Ten Hag went with a weird 2-4-2-4 defensive shape, which allowed City to completely play through us. Now, I have got a video that may or may not already be out, depending on when I release this video. I'll leave it linked in the description if it is. If not, subscribe to the channel and click the bell so you do get notified when it does come out. But in that video, it's clear to see that the pressing system is a complete shambles. It looked like Ten Hag had told the front 4 to press high up the pitch and everyone else just to sit back and be more pragmatic. And even if you factor out the City game and you look at the other games that we've played, United have struggled to break through deep defensive units who just compact the centre of the pitch, force United out wide, and find it fairly easy to stop United progressing the ball into the final third and into the box. Now obviously the Glazers are the glaring problem at United, but we can't just go on game after game, season after season just saying, yeah, the Glazers are the only problem, typing Glazer out in the comments. I mean, this is just embarrassing at this point. I think most people agree that Ten Hag's recruitment is at best a little concerning, at worst it's diabolical. You can blame the Glazers all you want for not backing him in the transfer market, but he spent £140 million on Antony and Casemiro. Antony, I'm just going to say it, Antony is not even a Premier League level winger. I was saying this midway through last season and people were telling me how I should be backing the players, blah blah blah. Wake up. Antony's not good enough. If you think he's good enough, I mean, you're even more delusional than the people who are blaming the Glazers for everything that's going on. Casemiro was brought in just last summer for £60 million, and I can't really see a role that he's suitable for in that central midfield. And before you say they weren't Ten Hag signings, yes they were. Antony was 100% a Ten Hag signing, and so was Casemiro. And if he wasn't, why is Ten Hag okaying a £60 million transfer? I mean, let's just say that the Glazers say, yeah, we're going to spend £300 million next summer. I still don't trust Ten Hag to use that money efficiently. I mean, he's come out the other day and said that he will never play the same way he played at Ajax. Well, sorry, mate, that we employed you to play the way you played at Ajax. If we wanted a more pragmatic manager, we would have got Simeone or Conte. I think that comment alone is arguably the biggest reason why people would be Ten Hag out. I mean, he's got Onana there who was at Ajax, Sandro Martinez, even though he's been injured, he was there at Ajax. Dalot is more than good enough in possession to play that style. Amrabat's there, who's a fantastic circulator of the ball from deep positions. Mason Mount, Bruno Fernandes. I just think it's a complete cop-out to simply blame the squad. The squad is not shit. If you think the squad is shit, you just don't know how to analyse players. You don't know how to judge players. I mean, look at Brighton, Aston Villa, the teams above us who actually look coherent, actually look like they're all playing the same sort of system and they know what they're doing. With United, I don't know if we're trying to play out from the back, if we're trying to bait the press, if we're a transitional team who are going to sit deep and hit teams on the counter, if we're going to look to use overlaps on the flanks. I mean, I could understand at the start of the season where there was just, I mean, it seemed like everyone was injured, but now players like Mason Mount are back, Amrabat's in the side, Højlund's now playing up front. I mean, you can't just keep blaming the squad. Ten Hag's had more than enough money. He's brought in more than enough players to at least be challenging for the top 4. United at this rate probably won't even make top 6. Even if you are Ten Hag in, you can't just be completely blind to the problems. You have to criticise him when he is there to be criticised. And Jesus Christ, does he need to be criticised? I mean, the fact that we are barely beating sides like Brentford at home and Sheffield United away, as well as Burnley away as well, pretty much says it all. And if you are someone who is Ten Hag in still, or if you're someone who completely disregards even sacking Ten Hag at the end of the season, you have to ask yourself, do you see United with Ten Hag being able to win the title in the next 3 or 4 seasons? If the answer's no, then he's not the right manager. United in the next 3, definitely 4 seasons, have to be winning the Premier League, even with the Glazers, I'm sorry. I mean, it's not like we're Tottenham and they're not spending any money at all. Ten Hag's been given Antony for £80 million. He could have brought in Moussa Diaby, he's double the player that Antony is. But even if you completely disregard the transfers and the recruitment and everything around the club, and just look at the tactical side of the game and how the side's been set up, Ten Hag is failing miserably. That's not the Glazers' fault. It's not Rashford, Bruno Fernandes, Jim Ratcliffe, Harry Maguire, whoever else gets the blame. It's down to Ten Hag. And to people who are still adamantly Ten Hag in, which I'm definitely not, I'm probably on the fence. I'd say I'm leaning towards Ten Hag out at the moment, even though I am willing to give him a bit more time. At what stage would you become Ten Hag out, and when would you actually say that he does deserve the sack? I mean, if we finish something like 7th by the end of the season, is that bad enough? Or does it need to be mid-table? Or does it even need to be the relegation zone? I mean, it's seeming to me that people are more concerned about arguing with rival fans about who's got a better manager on Twitter than they are about actually seeing United be successful. Now, I have seen people say that we've just got to write off this season, which, I mean, that's just ridiculous. If you're writing off the season, the manager needs to go. You can't write off the season in November, particularly after we came 3rd last season. And even though he didn't get the perfect transfer window, he got 4 of his main targets. If you're writing off the season, you should be Ten Hag out. Because I'm definitely not writing off the season at all now, even though we are out of the Carabao Cup. We're not winning the league title. We're going to probably struggle to even get top 4 at this point. Ten Hag, with this squad that he currently has, the players he has at his disposal, 100% should be getting, at the very least in my opinion, 4th. 5th would be an underperformance, but maybe I'd take it. If we end up 6th or 7th and crash out of the Champions League early, I mean, Ten Hag has to go. This is Manchester United FC, it's not Ten Hag FC. It doesn't matter what opposition fans say on Twitter or whatever. We're not just keeping a manager just so that you don't have to admit that United maybe got the appointment wrong. and keep pumping out excuses like he needs time, the Glazers, blah blah blah. Even with the Glazers, United should at the very least be around 4th or 3rd this season. And within the next 3 or 4 seasons, regardless of who the owners are, whether the Glazers do in fact stay with Sir Jim, whoever it is, United need to win a title. We're not Everton, we're not even Newcastle or Tottenham. This is Manchester United, and if you're going to say that we can't compete, what a load of bullshit that is, because Tottenham right now, they've not spent anywhere near the amount of money United have. Postecoglou's only come in this season. He's competing at the moment with the likes of Arsenal and Liverpool. You've got Brighton up there, who have a fraction of United's budget, have sold players. You've got Aston Villa there. I mean, the excuses are becoming embarrassing. Judge Erik ten Hag like you would judge Pochettino at Chelsea or Arteta at Arsenal, and I know what people are going to say. Arteta had time, Klopp had time, blah blah blah. But you could see a coherent style, particularly with Jurgen Klopp. I mean, you're comparing apples with pears here. Klopp and Arteta were never performing this bad. And even when during lockdown, when Arsenal were absolutely terrible for that 3-month period, however long it was, the players that Arteta had in his squad were nowhere near the level that Ten Hag has at the moment. I mean, the whole Casemiro situation to me is baffling. Why would Ten Hag agree to bring in what was he, 30 when he came in? He's 31 now. Why would Ten Hag agree to bring in a central midfielder who apparently doesn't really fit the system because he's brought in Amrabat to play that deep single pivot role because Casemiro can't play there, he's got to play further forward? Why would he agree to that? Spend £60 million? It makes no sense. The Antony signing alone is an absolute farce. And the funniest part out of all of this is we got rid of Cristiano Ronaldo, one of the best players to have ever played for the club, a club legend, because Ten Hag wanted to play a certain style, only for him to a year later to come out and say he's never going to play that style with these players. Hold on a minute, if you can get rid of Cristiano Ronaldo, you can definitely get rid of Harry Maguire, Marcus Rashford, whoever the problem is that's stopping you playing that style. It's a complete cop-out. I mean, we would have, if Ten Hag isn't going to play the same style that he played at Ajax, we should have just kept Ronaldo, got a different manager and played a more pragmatic way. I mean, the whole reason that Ronaldo was gotten rid of by Ten Hag was because he didn't fit a high pressing system. We're diabolical at pressing. Have you seen us pressing this season? So this whole nonsense about just defending Ten Hag, he needs time. I mean, to me, it just strikes that people don't really understand how to analyse a game. They can't see the tactical flaws. It's almost every week at this point that we see from Ten Hag's side. And this narrative that managers need time, blah, they don't, because other managers are able to get sides successful, particularly top-level managers. I mean, this whole argument was prominent, particularly around when Sir Alex Ferguson left and you had David Moyes coming in. You heard Gary Neville, David Moyes needs time, blah, blah, blah. Same thing with Arsene Wenger, blah, they need time. Chelsea within that decade were sacking managers left, right and centre. Maybe they did it a bit harshly, but they won 2 Champions Leagues and 2 Premier Leagues, whilst in that same decade Arsenal have won 0 Premier Leagues and 0 Champions Leagues, and the same goes for Manchester United as well. So maybe this whole theory that managers need time, blah blah blah, maybe that's just complete bullshit. I mean, Louis van Gaal should have been sacked midway through his second season. That football was absolutely atrocious, and it was clear we would never build a title winning side with him. We kept him to the end of the season, didn't get top 4. And with Solskjaer, even though he did have a fantastic run towards the end of his first season, or first half of the season, which was the reason why he got the job, he should have never been given the reins at United. It should have gone, really, you need a manager the calibre of Pep Guardiola or Jurgen Klopp to really run this side. And if Ten Hag isn't that, he's got to go. We can't keep wasting season after season, giving managers time because we think it's too harsh to sack them. I mean, one of the best examples is Roberto Di Matteo. He won the Champions League and had to be given the job full time, but the next season, when it was pretty evident it wasn't working out, Abramovich sacked him. That was a 2012-2013 season. He brought in Jose Mourinho at the end of that season. They came third in the 13-14 season, and then won the Premier League in 14-15. With Solskjaer, we gave him, 2.5 seasons. Never really looked like being able to compete with City. And then eventually he got so bad he had to be sacked anyway. I mean, if this carries on, eventually Ten Hag will get sacked. And so I think everyone needs to really look at the situation, say, where do I think United will finish this season? If the answer is 6th or 7th, I'm sorry, but this is Manchester United Football Club. It's not Ten Hag Football Club. We're not giving managers season after season. We're going to end up like Liverpool did in the 90s and 2000s, not winning a title for the next 30 years.